Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am YamatoCannon, and this is AMA number 11. If you have any questions, or if your question wasn't answered, post it in the Discord or on our YamatoCannon. All the links are below. If you want to support me and you want to get ahead in the line of questions, just jump in on the Patreon page. I really appreciate it. We're currently constructing some, of course, a tier list for Clash and lower tier tournaments, and also you guys get to know some secrets before anyone else. Right now there is one big secret that will be shared when this video is posted on the Patreon, and if you are interested you can support me. If not, watching is just as good. Let's jump into the questions. Kentucky Fried EDC asks, who is your LCS mid-season first pro team and MVP? I think it's pretty straightforward to just put whole Cloud9. I don't think questioning that, there's no one that really can question that, for sure. MVP, honestly, it's either Sven or Vulcan. I think the level they've showed above their opposition is just crazy good. I think in terms of gap, I think bot lane gap has been the biggest in every single game that they played. They played the right champions, they played the right meta, they figured things out, and they always play super well. So either Vulcan or Sven, Sven already has a statue of himself, so just give it to Vulcan. I think he deserves it. Deck Q asks, thoughts about C9 versus Korean teams or LCK versus LCS in general right now? I think the issue with the LCS is that there are too many coaches that are trying to force the Korean way of playing, and I think pound for pound, I think like top 6 teams will give C9 a hard time, honestly. I am of the opinion that from the games we've seen so far, I think LCK is much better than what we see in the LEC and also the LCS. I think Genji and Dragon X, honestly, these two teams really impress me. They like Dragon X are just really insane laners, and they have such a high ceiling, while Genji really understand how to pressure the early game super well. I think now Klid really looks like the best jungler in the world, because I didn't think so when he was on SKT. I think SKT kind of held him back and he wasn't allowed to explore options. And I feel like right now on Genji, he's given options. Like BDD is in insane form, and on top of that, I think Ruler is one of the best AD carries in the world. I think just there are no teams in the LCS. Like, how can I compare LCS to LCK? I think like, who is the second best? We have FlyQuest. I can't imagine FlyQuest beating like a Freaka or Hanwha Life. I just can't. And with this in mind, obviously the LCK is much stronger, and I think C9 is one team, and I think C9 could maybe win against an Afrika and Hanwha Life, or maybe they would even lose, because I think it is kind of a question mark when it comes to C9. They are obviously ahead of their opponents in terms of macro, in terms of play, in terms of everything else, in terms of individual skill. But the question is, how well does that transfer against opposition that is going to be clearly better? Because reviewing a lot of C9 games, there are a lot of lost opportunities that teams don't take. There are matchups that they are losing that they shouldn't lose, and they are just not contesting, and C9 just are ruthless. They're ruthless, they're confident, and this is a massive edge, but they're going to face opposition that is confident and also ruthless. So with this in mind, I have reservations about C9 in terms of them heading into MSI. I think they still show a lot of good quality, so I don't want to take too much away from them. Show1 Khan asks, who are your MVP and rookie of the first round, Ruben, and why? LEC. I would say MVP, Alphari. I think Alphari had stand-up performances. I think top lane-wise, he was the most consistent. And keep in mind that the midway point is before that Fnatic game where he played Soraka. So this is what I'm keeping in mind. Rookie, I would just say Razork is the easy one to go for. I think the other rookies have had good performances and maybe will end stronger, like Kaiser, Karzi. Shadow. But I think Razdork in the first half of the first round robin was just above and beyond very, very good. After the first week where it looked like he almost choked right on the Javan, he bounced back and did super, super well. Find Purpose asks, what is your opinion on TSM's performance? Well, TSM is an interesting pickle because I think from watching their games, I feel like they're trying to solve too many problems at once. And I think the biggest issue that they need to solve is how they manage their waves, honestly. The performance against Cloud9 is the game that stands out the most to me because they had a big lead there and they couldn't transition it because they didn't know how to manage waves on mid lane. They didn't know how to itemize properly in order to snowball the matchup. Like, if you get a double kill, you can't go base and buy a Kindle gem. Like, you're not Vladimir, right? You just can't do that. And you need to manage the wave in a way where either you're freezing, and when you're actually pushing the wave into the turret, you need to dive Qiyana to then control the enemy elites, because the elites needs to react, and when you control the elites, you control the whole game. But it just didn't happen. It was just 10 minutes of flatness, and usually a lot of the TSM games that I'm watching is the first 5 minutes, Dardoch seems to be very, very good in terms of finding ganks, and usually they get those kills, but how do they make that transition? And I think that transition is what they need to work on the most, and that's what I would attack first if I was TSM. Yesterday I saw them play a Maokai, which was interesting and unique, but I think TSM still has a lot of good potential here with the roster. I think Broken Blade is good, I think Bjergsen is good. I just think that you know, they need to walk away from the mentality of just pushing waves. There needs to be a thought process. Why am I pushing this wave? Why am I not freezing? Why am I not creating an opportunity here? Because every wave is an opportunity. I think this is just lost upon most NA teams and players, while C9 actually use every wave as an opportunity. If Niski has prio, that information gets transferred to the jungle and they actually digested, you know, they actively digested this information. What can we do with it? If they find opportunities to dive, roam, pressure enemy camps, they do it. If not, then that's fine too, but they are actively thinking about every wave that they're pushing. Because even in that game that I referenced to with the Renekton and the Qiyana, Qiyana found opportunities to roam even though he's in a position where, you know, the game was practically over. It should have been over right from that start. So that is a key problem for me, but I think it's also an NA problem. Just if they're in the thought process, if of always actively thinking this wave, what do we do with it? Then I think TSM can become much, much better. And I think they have good players. They have good players. Just that transition period sucks. And I think another issue that a lot of NA teams have is they don't know how to solve the problem of late game. In a lot of cases, team compositions that want to group usually have more success. And I think a lot of drafting is towards that. But it's incredible when there's a region that is picking so much Tahm Kench and picking a lot of, for example, spit pushers. It's incredible that it's not being used more as a win condition. But I think there are scenarios where you are supposed to NA Aram, you know, you're supposed to go mid with certain compositions, and I think a lot of NA teams like to draft those. So I think even though it's a fun meme, there is some scenarios where you're supposed to actively group, especially when you are in a position where you don't have vision. Imagine you're in a scenario where the map is completely dark. The best move most of the time, of course there are scenarios where it's not, but going 5 through mid puts you at good odds because you can always react from the center of the map and you'll always get mid prior like this, or you'll contest a 5v5, right? But then after you build the vision, it needs to transpose into you dealing with your side lanes and setting them up for success. And I think that's what's missing sometimes, unless there is like a tussle in the river or something. Basically, you get mid prio in order to build vision, and when you have the vision, you can actually push the side lanes. Because honestly, playing AD carry or mid lane and sharing every mid wave is quite disastrous. And I think the reason I bring this up is because the game between TSM and Immortals, which was very early on in the season, I know that it still stands out in my mind. So I think just wave management is something that TSM needs to improve, and the whole region needs to improve in order to have anything to say to C9. And I think TSM at the end of the split will still end up in top 3. I am not too much on the FlyQuest hype train. I'm very happy about Ignar's performance. Ignar is smurfing, but I think in the end it won't be enough. But I might be wrong. I might be wrong. Milkosaurus 11. This being said, is the state of the league such that the draft in the first 50 minutes ultimately determined the result of the game? Yeah, most of the time that's the case. I think most of the time when you see a team losing when they are ahead, it usually comes from major mistakes. And the key reason is if you're ahead and your draft is shit, then of course you won't win. That's why the discussion about draft is so big. If you're ahead in the early game, most of the time you can transition that, because gold begets gold. You know, I know violence begets violence, but gold begets gold. So even though you're 1k ahead at maybe 8 minutes, that is going to give you an even bigger lead, you know? It always transposes into more gold, more gold, more gold. A good example is, of course, the Origin versus Rogue game, where Rogue got completely demolished, completely smackarood, and it all started with Lee Sin's big mistake in the top side where Gragas got a free kill, and then Lee Sin showed on the map, and all of a sudden Gorky's showing on the map. It was just a complete disaster all across the board, right? Civilizer was taken. Do you think that Dragon X is the strongest team in the LCK because of their ceiling, coach, and performance so far? Piosik and Kieria are both on their first split and look like monsters. Then you also have Chovy and Deft on top of it, all CV max. High ceiling rookie score from Korea with a new and innovative coach. Honestly, I think ceiling-wise, they look crazy good. Like, in terms of what they can accomplish, their biggest competition right now, it looks like Gen.G. I don't think the T1 streak is going to last, because I think when Gen.G and Dragon X figure their stuff out, they're going to look really, really good. I think Gen.G's roster also looks very, very nice, but I think in terms of ceiling, I will have to lean towards Dragon X. I think Deft is just on a whole nother level. Chovy is looking fantastic, and the rookies that they brought in, like even Doran hasn't had enough playtime, right? Doran is also looking freaking good, and I think you know, maybe if T1, if Kana starts to play better and better because he's also a rookie, then maybe they will be competitive with them. Currently it's working, right? I think SKT is like the classic LCK team to the core, while I think Gen.G and Dragon X looks a lot more inspiring in terms of what can work on a more global scale when they face the faster teams, because I feel like these are the type of teams that can compete lane-wise, right? But even SKT can compete lane-wise, honestly. Like, Faker is kind of, you know, he's alright. Teddy is crazy good, and Effort is playing a lot better than he did last year, so I think there's a lot of potential there too. But yeah, I think Dragon X ceiling the highest. Pedo Hunter asks, would you rather coach a team of big brain players with no hands, so as Xmithy Xerxes? Why is Xerxes there? Xerxes doesn't have... Xerxes has decent mechanics. Why is Xerxes there? Or a team of mechanical monkeys? iBoy, Jackie Love, Peanut. So I have 280 carries. Nevertheless. Yeah, mechanical monkeys for sure. What is there to do to improve upon players that have a big brain, you know? You need to, at least big brain can be trained, right? Mechanics cannot be taught, you know? You can teach someone a matchup or how to play it, but if they are mechanically bad, you're just not gonna succeed. And if you look at my history in terms of what players I acquire and what I look for, I always look for mechanical monkeys, you know. I look for players that have potential, and I rarely lean towards players that have, you know, a long history. I think there's a good mix that you can strike, right? There's still like a team with, let's say, SOAS, and you have a bunch of mechanical monkeys together with SOAS, and that might be like the perfect mixture, right? Because it's not like these players are completely mechanically deaf. But yeah, I would prefer the team of mechanical monkeys. That's it for this AMA. This was AMA number 11. Time is flying, man. Time is flying. We're already in the 3rd month of the year, and before you know it, it's going to be all gone. So cherish it and ask a freaking question on Discord or the YamatoCannon subreddit or also the Patreon page. So thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Okay. Cheerios.